Go ahead and talk.
Am I there?
Yeah, you're still there.
Good deal.
Well, that was an auspicious start to our podcast. Jimmy
Hey,
D
man.
and the Wolf.
We stuck the landing. It's all good.
Are we still everything on there? Okay.
It's funny that it's harder to do it when we're both in the same room than it is when I'm a couple states away.
Yeah. Yeah. Is this coming through? Huh. Maybe I need to be closer. I got my headphones on so I can make sure that we are. I'll just have to stay close to the mic. All right. Well, this is an auspicious one for us because we're using some new technology. This is the first time we're using StreamYard, and we're streaming on 3 platforms at the same time while we're in the same room.
Yes.
Normally, you come in and I send you a link, and you do it from Madison. And also something that's new is I figured out how to use my phone as a webcam, and that took about a day of banging around, and I was led down the wrong path by a live streamer who had a live video on YouTube that said you had to convert it to an HDMI. So I had a little dongle, and then I had an HDMI to convert it to HDMI, my phone. And then it went into a capture card. She's from Australia, so she said capture card, and couldn't get a signal. So I took it to the local computer, and he tried for about a day, computer shop. And finally, a YouTuber came in and said, "You're doing this all wrong. Just plug it in your phone. Just plug in USB cable charger for your phone, and then get this app." I had this app, Camo, and you have to have it on your phone and on your computer. And it worked.
How old was the YouTuber?
I don't know. I wasn't there.
Oh,
Probably teenager.
that's what I was going to say.
So, I hope everything is going well. I hope that we're live on all 3 platforms right now.
Yeah.
And
I think we got her, man.
all right.
It's all the beta testing, right?
Exactly. So there's a brand new mic there that I just knocked on the floor. Just took it out of the box today.
If it's working.
You know, so
Microphones are incredibly durable, man. I've thrown lots of them down before. They always come out working.
So today, just trying to pick subjects to talk about in advance, I saw an article that tried to predict the trends for 2021, music trends primarily. And one of the ones it had is that live is going to come screaming back because compared it to the pandemic after World War I, Hispanic flu, 1918. And then we had one of the wildest decades ever in the history of our country, which was the Roaring 20s.
Sure.
People were pent up demand for
jazz exploded.
Yeah. And they're saying that the same could happen as we get out of this pandemic and live streams. I've seen it from numerous people saying, I'm predicting lives are going to explode. So people are tired of realize what they missed, and they want more. They want to do it. And they want to consume.
Well, if there's been any good thing come from it, it's that, it's a lot of things people took for granted. But now it's like there's a general sense of people wanting to rush back to normal. And I think it's a great time to analyze and decide how much of that normal you're ready to accept as normal,
And the new normal will not be different than the old normal. Things are never going back. Some things, not all things, but some things I don't think are ever going back the same way. And I think office spaces, we've talked about that over and over.
Sure.
Working from home has become more acceptable. One thing also that the trend that I'm jumping on was that the trends for glamour and clothing, dressing up. I mean, the 20s.
Yeah,
people dressed up, had fashion.
People are gonna want to go out, and I think also, man, people understanding how productive they can be with their time, and it maybe does a weird thing to industry because so many people worked from home, and a lot of people found out Well, I worked from home this week, and what I normally have to go to the job and do in the span of 8 hours, I did at home in 2 hours. So they start to ask that question: what is the 40-hour work week really? I mean, are you even any more productive?
There's that. There's definitely that. Yeah, and so workplace and work-life balance is changing for sure, I think. But the one comment was that glamour, dressing up for yourself, not for work, but dressing up for yourself, is coming back. So I jumped on that, what I hope is a trend, and I found this great clothing shop in Nashville called Indochino. It's a Canadian company actually, but they have chains all across, stores all across, and they measure you for suit, and you can get a suit for really probably less than it costs for the average suit off a counter. And it's made to measure. And the amount of measures that he took, I mean, more than just your sleeve length and he took, he was getting my pants right, the rise in the pants and changing this and changing that. And I don't think I've ever had a pair of pants fit right after he did my measurements. Ryan Connolly, phenomenal. And I ordered 5 suits there, and I'm planning on ordering 2 more. And I'm going to change my look and start wearing a lot of suits.
I like it. I like it.
So, I'm hoping to jump on that trend. I mean, it's just for fun. I mean,
Sure.
and not all the suits are not boring, suits.
Dress for success, man.
They're like one's a bright blue, another one's a bright red. I showed you the one plaid one that I'm thinking about getting, really a loud plaid, and just have fun with it.
Sure.
And I'm looking forward to getting those. It'll take probably a couple months to get here. I mean, they're doing them offshore, so. That was one of the trends, the return to a lot more live, returning to a lot more glamour, perhaps coming back. Trends always come back around. It's always a boomerang.
Oh, yeah, man. Even the freaking mullet has came back. Everything comes back. Everything's cyclical.
Everything, So, we've had a long time of casual trends, a long time. So,
remember the swing thing when it happened, late 90s, early aughts, when there's that swing music explosion.
Oh,
and I thought that was the coolest thing.
Yeah, Brian Setz was on that.
Yeah, never would have thought.
Jump and Jive.
Yeah, Jump, Jive, and Will, and there was a couple of those bands, but I just thought that was really cool. I'd love to see some kind of big band thing come back.
Absolutely. So anyway, talking about music and the title that we gave to this podcast, this same article said that a trend that, and I think maybe this particular forecast was not necessarily for 2021, but was saying that there's going to come a time when AI, computer-generated songs are going to be able to be on the charts along with human produced songs. And it's kind of scary in a way.
The songs on the charts now were produced by humans.
Okay, well, you're starting with that assumption. And so I read into this a bit, and there's a couple of schools of thought, or a couple of different, breaking this down.
Yeah.
This company came out called Juke Deck. I think I got it right. And there's a few others like it. And what they do is, because it creates instrumental music for example, music that is background music. Like if you're doing the example I gave was a makeup tutorial on YouTube and you want some music in the background. That music doesn't have to be great. It's just to kind of set a mood.
Sure.
It's got to be a certain tempo, certain feel to it. And what they do, this Juke Deck and others, programs like it, have been, actually they're using these neural programming that actually it can learn. The computer actually learns. The software allows it to learn things. And I think they call it neural programming. And so they feed like 1,000 songs in a particular genre. And basically it was saying it's nothing more than humans do. in a way. All we do is we listen to songs, all the songs we've consumed,
Sure.
and songwriters regurgitate basically their
You're
influences.
an amalgamation of
Yeah.
everything you've,
so
all your favorite
it's
stuff you've
nothing
listened
more than really what songwriters do, and it's saying it's really for. So now people can, if you're a person who makes YouTube videos, you're an influencer or you're a creator, and you want background music, you can go to this site and for almost no money at all, or for a little bit of money, generate the exact kind of mood. You can enter in the mood, the tempo, what kind of genre you want it to be, and it'll generate for very inexpensively the background music that you want. And it's like elevator music in a way. Elevator music is the extreme of that, where it's kind of cheesy and so that is one area that is actually apparently functioning now, and you can actually do that, and there are people that do that. And this company did Irish music actually, and they fed it, and they created a album and sent it to some Irish music organization, and they didn't tell them what the origin was. Now, it was written by the AI, but it was performed by humans.
Gotcha.
This particular album, but the songs were written by AI, and it was just a regurgitation of 1,000 Irish songs that had been sent through it. And then after they get the publication gave pretty good ratings for this album. And then they told them where it came from, and they like shrugged. It's good music. It's decent music. Good music.
It makes sense. I mean, from a compositional standpoint, it makes perfect sense. If you play the root, what's next?
Oh, and there are sites. Google has one, and IBM has one. It's called Watson, or Where's Watson, or something like that. That you feed in a couple of bars of a song, and it will. You're drooping.
Yeah, I know.
It's just took it out of the box. So, anyway, I don't think that's the one you need to tighten. Or maybe it is the one you need to tighten. Anyway, it will predict the next. Like if you took an Ariana Grande, one example I gave, Ariana Grande song, and you fed in the first few bars of the chorus and then stopped it and had to predict the next. And what if you made that into a song? Would you owe writing credit to Ariana Grande? And some people were upset. Well, I mean, is it just using influence, which you don't, but is it actually, is it like sampling? Sampling is if you sample someone's song, you have to give credit. So this is opening up a whole new Pandora's box as to copyrights and that sort of thing. Now, this music that we're talking about is not with lyrics, but there are people who use AI to create lyrics. And we listened to a song earlier. It was a Christmas song.
Oh, man.
It was horrible. It was
the worst thing I've ever heard.
Yeah, it was absolutely horrible. So AI is not there, and that's going to be a little different. That's going to be a whole nother level for it to do that. But what can AI do is to be a songwriting helper. Like, and what some people are in a rut, they feed some, and it's no different than I've heard one songwriting technique. You take a bunch of words and you cut them into slips of paper and you throw them in a hat and you pull them out and novel new ways, and you might have new sentence structures to create. And they say when they do this, they run them through these apps, and most of the stuff is absolute crap, worthless.
Right.
But there'll be a random one. So in fact, the one guy said, I probably would have been better off just writing the amount of hours it took. I would have been better off writing. I would have been faster, just write the stuff myself. But what it gave me a few nuggets that were like, oh, I probably never would have thought of that. So that's a secondary thing. Now, writing like elevator music, that's already being done.
Yeah. Then I would imagine the instrumental stuff's simple for AI.
Yeah.
There's nothing.
Nothing. I mean, and what they're saying is going to put a lot of people out of jobs
Sure.
that are writing instrumentals for background music. I mean, you don't need them. AI can do it quickly. The music supervisor can go there and say, okay, this is my scene. This is what I need, and generate it quickly without having to work with or go through a music library. So if you're a person who writes cues for TV and cable, might be endangered. But when it comes to writing Taylor Swift level, beautiful Grammy Award-winning Album of the Year songs, AI is not even in the ballpark now. But it can be used as a tool to come up with unique combinations of word sentence structures that you may have blocked you from, but the human element is still the human element is still the final arbiter and curator and deciding.
Well, sure, it's going to be the last thing that we do better than artificial intelligence.
So that's kind of where that's at based on my research that I did. And it was just so interesting to listen to that one Christmas song.
Well, it makes sense. I mean, it makes sense that the compositional aspect for AI is nothing. All those songwriters, as far as songcraft and little tricks that songwriters use, that's nothing.
Just write a 1-5-6-4 song.
Sure,
I mean, there's so many songs that are
we're in a
chord progression.
Right, we're in a rut. What should we do? You know, it was G, C, and D. Well, let's try E minor. It wasn't E minor. Let's try B minor. It's going to take AI. That's nothing.
But they said that AI cross-pollination, like Jacob Collier, I don't know if you've listened to some of his stuff. I mean, taking unique combinations of stuff, like back in the day, what band was it? The guy with the red hat that used to rap over rock songs. Who am I trying to think of? Limp Bizkit.
Limp Bizkit, yeah.
And
Fred Durst,
yeah, and stuff like that. Or rapping over country songs.
Man, you know what I love?
AI is not going to do that. AI is not going to come up with
what I love
stuff.
is those mashups. I see them where you'll see a mashup where they take two like classic songs and they'll take the music from one of the songs and the vocal part from another and mash them together. And they're always these odd mixtures of tunes. One was the Temptations. Heard it through the grapevine over that Bon Jovi song.
Living on Prayer?
No, You Give Love a Bad Name. I'm pretty sure that's what it was. And somehow it was really cool. And I'm sure that's way easier than what we're talking about. That's child's play compared to what we're talking about. But I think those mashups are pretty neat sometimes.
Yeah. So, in fact, this article was talking about that this idea has been around for many years. In fact, in the 18th century, the 1700s, classical composers had mechanical things built to try to help them develop songs. And because they didn't have computers, obviously, but mechanical random generating, things that were random generating, like a random number generator, a computer. I mean, there were some pretty sophisticated machines that could be developed, and even in the 1700s, even further back.
Wow.
And so creating a machine, pulleys and levers and whatever.
It's all math.
That would do random number generating in a way and help these composers come up with unique melodies and chord structures. I mean, so it's not nothing. That's AI. Just
absolutely
not using computers because they didn't have computers, but a mechanical computer. And they're even to the point where people were writing songs parodying it, making a parody of it because it was so commonplace. Just like writing a song today or, making fun of, what was it called? The 1-5-6-4. It's called what do they call it?
The hit industry standard.
No, there was another term that you were laughing about. I don't remember it, but it was a chord progression. Just the standard chord progression that a lot of songs are written from. When back in the 50s, it was 1-6-4-5.
1-6-4-5. Sure.
Same chords, just different order.
Sure.
Completely different feel, completely different sound. And if you start on the 4, then that's the weeping emo. If you start on the 4, you go 4-1-5-6. That is a whole nother. It's same. Now it's the same order, but you start on a different chord.
Sure.
That's very sad.
Sure.
So, anyway, off the beaten path a little bit, but that's still, it does indicate that music is formulaic.
100%. It's all math.
Yeah. So, well, it's more than math. In fact, the one article said, there's math there, but there's also the emotion and there's the frequencies that resonate in our body.
If it doesn't emote, different keys are different.
Yeah.
Temper tuning scale, different progressions sound better in different keys and all that stuff. But it's still, I mean, that's why they're brilliant just off the chain, talented, like autistic artists, they almost thrive in that environment because it is a mathematical thing to them oftentimes.
Sure. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it makes sense that they've been doing that forever because they're cooking with the same exact ingredients today.
Sure.
Nobody's inventing anything.
Western music, I mean, now you got Eastern unit, where you don't have the, more microtonal stuff, which Jacob Collier is now working on that set of half notes in between quarter notes. I mean, you got your whole, what am I trying to say? Not a half step and a whole step, a quarter step. Microtone stuff.
Yeah.
And he's working on that. I mean, so the 2 whole steps and a half step, 3 whole steps and a half step is the foundation of Western music, and Eastern music is not necessarily following that.
Yeah.
In fact, there are often more gaps than a whole step. There'll be, like if you play the harmonic minor scale, you have a step and a half jump from the flat 6th to the natural 7th, and that sounds very Eastern, doesn't it?
Yeah.
When you play that, so it's not even microtonal stuff. It's also bigger gaps than a whole step, which makes sound foreign to our Western ear. But we've been acclimated to 2 whole steps, half step, 3 whole steps, half step.
Yeah,
unless you're in minor key, of course. Then
sure.
It's not that, but.
My approach has always been I'm only 1 fret away from a good note.
Absolutely. Well, if it's
when in doubt,
if you're in microtonal, then you're always on it, right?
Exactly.
If you got quarter note stuff or quarter tone stuff,
trombone players are so lucky, man. They just go from one note to the next octave, and they've played all the scales. So I like playing slide, man. I don't have to be accurate.
Yeah. And so I'm looking forward to this Sunday at church on Easter Sunday. I'm going to be playing my pedal steel, breaking that out. Yeah.
Nice.
It's going to be. I'm looking forward to it. We'll see how it goes. I mean, hope it's a hit. And so there's going to be a lot of us on stage. We're going to have a bigger band than usual, and we're going to have a acoustic, electric, bass, drums, pedal steel,
cool,
and keyboards. Of course,
cool.
Music director's keyboards. So.
Well, speaking of guitars and slide guitar and incredible guitar players, and I know your favorite artist,
my favorite influence, my number one influence,
one of my
on guitar.
Favorite guys, man. Today's
his birthday,
Eric Clapton's 76th birthday.
Shout out to Eric, man.
He has some nerve damage. That's
what I've heard.
His playing's been affected. It's funny, man. When I was coming up in music, I was never very big on Eric Clapton. I never understood why everybody thought he was so great. I really didn't. I just didn't get it, man. It just went right by me because I liked heavier stuff. And From the Cradle was the album that got me. I always thought before that, it was like, why do people put him in the same class as Hendrix or all these other incredible guitar players? When I heard that album, I was just blown away. And really, I mean, even before that, the Unplugged album, the first time that I ever booked a solo gig, I didn't have enough material, and I went and bought the tab book from a little store in my hometown called On Cue. I bought the tab book from Unplugged. And I learned all those songs. I knew a bunch of songs, but I didn't know any that I could pull off solo. And I learned the whole Unplugged album, man. And
wow. Awesome.
And that was my set. Well, it kind of was. It kind of wasn't, because that was my whole set. I'd play the album, and then whatever time was left, like I just go back and play the songs again. The easier ones I do twice, But $20, man, for that book. That's what got me started doing solo acts. But he's, as you know, the only artist to be
3-time Grammy Award winner. Is that what you're getting at?
Yeah.
Yeah, he was indoctrinated because with the with the blues. No,
The Yardbirds.
the Yardbirds, and then with the Cream, of course,
Cream. Yep.
and then individually.
Yeah. Individually. And my,
Inducted in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. I don't know if we finished that. We know what we're thinking, and we may not have finished it. The only 3-time inductee
really
into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Mighty artist, man. If you look at the breadth of his career from where it started, the Yardbirds had such an influence. There's nobody else that you can trace from Muddy Waters and the old Chess Records guys to now that was as influential. The only other guy that you could trace that far back to current is Buddy Guy. As much as I love Buddy Guy, his influence wasn't near what Clapton's was.
And I know you love Buddy Guy. I shook his hand one time. That's as close as I got. You talk gear with him. But to me, Buddy Guy is about that wide. I mean, he's deep.
All right.
But Clapton, I mean, he has branched out. He's the blues, and he does
contemporary stuff.
And and a lot of people make fun of him.
Cream was arguably the first
super group,
maybe even metal. I mean, if you look at what was really happening at the time, Sabbath was listening to him. I mean, most people wouldn't consider Cream metal now, but step back into
absolutely
that era and listen to how heavy that music was.
It was heavy for that time. It was
and the power trio format. Nobody was really doing that at the time. Yeah. But my favorite era is the From the Cradle stuff. It almost sounds disrespectful to say it because there's been so many blues greats, but that might be the greatest, at least blues guitar album.
Absolutely,
it's definitely right.
I saw him on that tour.
A master class.
I saw him in Japan on that tour with my then Japanese girlfriend Yoko.
And the thing is, man,
good times, good memories. Sorry,
right? Well, the thing is, like people undervalue him as a great singer too, man.
Oh my gosh, he can sing.
A lot of those songs.
You try to start singing his stuff, you realize what a great singer he is.
A lot of those songs are really hard to sing. And the intervals that he uses, it's almost like.
I'm glad you're saying that.
Well, it's true, man. It's almost like he has this great disconnection of his approach to melody with the guitar was steeped in the blues, but his approach vocally was not. I mean, he was a great blues singer, but the intervals that he would use didn't launch off at the point that anybody else steeped in the blues would.
And even his first real attempt, of course, he sang on Crossroads, when they finished at the live version, which is the famous one. At the end, Jack Bruce goes, Eric Clapton, vocals, because that was one of the few songs that he sang on. He did a phenomenal job.
Jack Bruce was singing all the Cream stuff.
Right, Jack Bruce was, and Jack, phenomenal bass player, phenomenal musician, songwriter, all of that. Jack Bruce. In fact, all three of those guys were just off the hook. They hated each other, would sabotage each other's gear before a gig. Sabotage your bandmate's gear before a gig. Anyway, then they formed. He really got tired. He didn't like the superhero thing, and he started wanting to play with Delaney and Bonnie, which was the warm-up band, which was a pretty good band. And he started wanting to sit in with them. And I believe that's how, getting my time zones. Were they already Traffic already? Maybe then they formed Traffic, which was a real short-lived band. And Ginger Baker was in that, and Eric. And of course it had,
Stevie Winwood. Love Stevie Winwood. I do too.
He was amazing. He's got a great voice. He was a lead singer. And anyhow, Clapton got tired of being on the front, and he wanted to. That's why he started Derek and the Dominoes. Didn't put his name in it. He wanted it just to be in the band. And it was Delaney from Delaney and Bonnie that actually got him to start singing more. Said, you can sing. And coached him in his first album was Eric Clapton, which has like the song "Let It Rain," "Let It Rain,"
sure.
and a few other nuggets on there, was when he sang for the whole album. It was a great album. That's a great album. And then I think the next one, if I'm not mistaken, was Derek and the Dominoes. Don't think there was another one in between. I'm going to research that, but I think
no Blind Faith in between.
No, Blind Faith was before.
Right?
So,
yeah, you're right. Yeah.
So,
what a career, man.
Yeah.
And he stayed 100% relative the whole time. Like, he stayed current the whole way. He's reinvented himself.
Absolutely. And people diss him. Like, I'll never forget my sax instructor. Turns out is a pedophile, and I was in prison. I had no idea, but not going there, not derailing the talk, but he was telling me about, he had his PhD. He was a young guy. He's only 35 now. And when getting a PhD is really hard. He said that they had to, the oral test they had to take, the history of music, they could ask questions about anything in the history of music, of history that's recorded that we know about. We obviously don't know what the cavemen were doing.
Right.
But so I was surprised. I mean, so he had to be able to answer questions about anything to do with the history of music. He said it was an incredibly hard test. And then you do your recital, of course, and if you F up on your recital, I mean, you're not going to pass either. That's like your thesis. But anyway, he was saying how difficult that test was. So I'm thinking, this guy knows music history. And I would come in and I would always compare, trying to play sax and what I would do on guitar. And I would say, like maybe there was a lick and I used my pinky here. I don't remember exactly, but the comment came up. I said, that's kind of like Clapton on guitar, never really used his pinky. If you ever watch him play,
sure,
he slides up his ring finger up to the next fret where the pinky would normally be for modern. I mean, now you watch guys.
And he bends strings like that.
Yeah.
He bends strings with one finger.
Yeah. And he would sometimes use his pinky, but rarely, which is almost like saying, I'm going to handicap myself and not use
3 fingers.
Only use 3 fingers. But he made it work, and somehow that was probably poor training, and he never improved on that. So anyway, I made that comment to Dr. Spaeth, and he said, well, that doesn't matter, does it? I mean, he's just a singer-songwriter, acoustic player anyway, right? And I'm like, you're supposed to be this expert on music history, and you think that all
he was sick that day. He was sick on Clapton Day. Surely the university gave Clapton a whole day while they were studying for the PhD in music.
And you thought, I mean, all he knew, and I realized all he knew him from was the unplugged stuff.
Sure.
That's all he knew him from.
Sure. Lots of people that way.
It just blew my mind. You don't know Clapton is God era and, Derek and the Dominoes and Cream. And,
incredible career, man.
So, yeah, I'd like to see him one more time. He usually would play in September in Madison Square Garden. And, time's running out. I mean, I think he's still trying. I know he absolutely hates touring. Can't sleep in a hotel room. And as he gets older, it's worse. A lot of miles on that body and a lot of abuse. First heroin addict,
sure,
and then alcohol. He kicked the heroin and then alcohol, and that's why he started Antigua, and which is he sold his guitar collection and donated it all to his substance abuse center to help people recover. And happy birthday, Eric.
Yeah, happy birthday.
Wish you the best. Hope we can see you at least one more time.
Seriously, dude. We have to go. If we get a chance, we're going. Wherever
I want to check the tickets, and we got to go to New York and see if we can see him. That would be awesome.
Deal.
Awesome.
Deal.
Yeah. All right. Have we gone past 40 minutes?
Yeah, I think so.
We have.
I believe we have.
And I'll probably, maybe I'll end it like I started it on my way over to the computer to shut it off. I hope I'll trip over something.
You want me to set the microphone on the ground? Thanks for watching.
Yes.
Listening.